Yes, my people. Once again, it's Rockstar 860 TV. I'm a day and night evening, yeah. I talk about the happenings in court today for Vybz Kartel, his co-accused, the DPP, the judge. Now, I mean, what's going on? Well, everything is heating up. It was a rough day in court today for the DPP, according to media sources out of Jamaica. They really had a rough day. Like many of their arguments was struck down or questioned, or they have to bring in more um to support their arguments tomorrow. Like in case of the witnesses, they claim they have most witnesses from the original trial to come and testify again. So tomorrow, no, they have to prove this fact because the judge said they don't think they have witnesses. Just like the public don't think them have witnesses. Them only saying them have most of the witnesses. And who are the most of these witnesses? Is it the lying eyewitness? Is it the forensic phone? Is it this? Is it that? We don't know, but it's most of the witnesses, which was a weak argument to be put in a court of appeals for a hearing to see if it should be a retrial or an acquittal. That was a very weak argument about most of the witnesses. And then it was arguments about the finances of a retrial. What will it cost the state, or what will it do to further justice, if that's justice? Because it seems like they just want to hold on to these men for no apparent reason at this point, because this whole case is down the chutes. Evidence has been in the public eye for over 10 years now. How did it get there? Them have to go explain that. Them might try to say everybody they have access to evidence, but we don't know. The public doesn't know. We just know it's out there, and they're trying to downplay this like it's nothing minimal or it's nothing big to worry about. Know what I mean? That's something to worry about because this is a hindrance of people's rights to a fair trial. This evidence has been out there for years. Everybody have had access to it. Everybody have listened to it or heard it or read it. I have. I'm sure you have who has listened to this. So we can't lie to ourselves and go on like say these things aren't in the public eye. You have Sir Robot who be talking about this thing every day. He just did a video not too long ago. Same thing again. So he's not learning. His name isn't this, and he's taking it for a joke like, oh, they can't accept this. It's hearsay. No, you're damaging people's perception of people. That's potential to go on trial if there was to be a retrial. I highly doubt it. You know what I mean? So he don't understand what's going on. He's just lost in the world. He think he's an entertainer, a superstar. He think he can go outside and sign autographs, Sir P. You know what I mean? He's just hiding behind a camera, a video. He's just hiding behind a fake voice adjuster. That's all he's doing is hiding. But he's trying to make Vybz Kartel, Sean Storm, his co-accused, look like these evil persons while he's hiding. And if you take that into account, that's very detrimental to the men's rights to a fair trial. If it was me, if it was you wouldn't want that. You'd want your right to a fair trial. No matter what people might think about you or we might think about a person is guaranteed or should have a right to a fair trial in any country in the world. That's a part of their constitutional rights. And everybody wants fairness. Know what I mean? Down to your pet want fairness. Down to the tree want fairness. Everything want fairness. Because life is supposed to be about fairness and what's fair. Know what I mean? But we have to listen to other happenings that went on in the proceedings today. But like I said, once again, the DPP, Claudia Thompson, and the other person, I can't remember her name, I think it's Rhodes, they took a beating today. They took a very severe beating today. You know what I mean? You notice when we talk about when the defense was putting on their case or their summarizations, they were applauded, and they were um, championed by the judge for saying right things. Yeah, they were shut down here and there, but for the most part, 90% of the time, their arguments struck a chord with the judge, and the judge was able to accept their arguments or their surmisations. But as far as the prosecution, they were very, very very not prepared to be prosecutors. It was embarrassing.
The Court of Appeal has warned that it will not send the murder case involving Vybz Kartel and his three co-accused back for retrial unless the state can prove that all the original witnesses are available to testify. It was one of several grim declarations on what was a rough day in court for the prosecution as it opened its arguments in favor of retrying the four men for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Acting Director of Public Prosecutions Claudette Thompson faced tough questions related to the cost of a retrial, the availability of witnesses, and the risk of resubjecting the men to a prejudicial process. Ricardo Brooks has been covering the matter.
The acting director of public prosecutions had barely got to her feet when it became clear Thursday would be no easy day in the Court of Appeal. Claudette Thompson told the justices of the seriousness of the crime of murder and demanded an order for a retrial. Ms. Thompson pointed out that the crime was allegedly committed over an illegal gun and that the victim's body had never been found. The senior prosecutor maintained that justice must be done both ways. But Justice MacDonald Bishop wanted to know the exact cost of justice in the Kartel matter. The senior jurist repeatedly pressed the prosecution as to whether the expense to the state to mount a retrial was a burden Jamaica would be prepared to bear. The acting DPP responded that the state would just have to foot the bill. Clearly unconvinced, Justice MacDonald Bishop responded, quote, "That's a novel interpretation of that factor, but I leave it alone," end quote. The judge pressed on, quote, "The law is really if one case is going to deplete our resources time, money, human. That's what the case law says. We have to consider, do we really put our economy through that?" End quote. The acting DPP responded, quote, "I don't know if we can put a fixed cost to justice," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop shot back, "That's a requirement of the law," end quote. She eventually urged the acting. The law is really if one case is going to deplete our resources time, money, human. That's what the case law says. We have to consider, do we really put our economy through that? End quote. The acting DPP responded, quote, "I don't know if we can put a fixed cost to justice," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop shot back, "That's a requirement of the law," end quote. She eventually urged the acting DPP to use her time wisely. Conceding that she was not persuading the judges on the point of cost, the senior prosecutor responded, quote, "Very well, milady, I will not belabor the point," end quote. But she maintained that murder must be treated with seriousness. She told the court not to forget the murder, why it was done, and what happened after. The senior prosecutor did not fare much better when the matter of the timeline for a retrial was raised. Justice MacDonald Bishop pressed the prosecutor as to whether she agrees that a retrial date is uncertain. "Yes, my lady," responded the acting DPP. The prosecutor could only offer 2025 as her best estimate of a timeline for Kartel to be retried. Justice MacDonald Bishop declared that the Vybz Kartel case has placed a microscope on what she described as systemic problems in Jamaica's judicial system. She says those problems may come to, quote, "bite us somewhere along the way," end quote. Justice MacDonald Bishop also warned the prosecution that the Court of Appeal would not be sending the case back for a retrial unless the state can prove it has all its witnesses. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Jeremy Taylor, who was the lead prosecutor in the original trial, has submitted an affidavit swearing that most of the original witnesses are available. But Justice MacDonald Bishop pointed out that there was no evidence that Mr. Taylor had spoken to any of the witnesses, nor with all of them. The justice pointed out that simply providing a list of witnesses to the court by itself doesn't cut it. We can't send a case when we know that you're running down witness over there, said Justice MacDonald Bishop. We can't send a case when we know that you're running down witnesses over there, said Justice MacDonald Bishop.
So there you have it, my people. You hear what going on in our courtroom. The DPP is saying they have witnesses ready to testify if there's a retrial. And the judges tell them plainly and squarely, I don't think you have no witnesses. I don't think you have nothing. Only didn't even come to court prepared for this hearing. You're just telling me you are showing me an affidavit where you're saying you have, but you don't have no proof of anything. So, people, tomorrow is the final day, day 5. We'll still be covering what's going on. You know what I mean? We're here on the ground covering this hearing to see what the outcome will be. Either acquittal or retrial. You know what I mean? But it's looking more like a acquittal. You know what I mean? Because the DPP was embarrassed today. Yeah.